Well, the Dallas Stars hit the break on a high note. We'll recap the entire week in California. We'll tell you why Lian Bichsel was loaned back to Texas, and plenty more on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. What a wild road trip in the state of California for the Dallas Stars, but they finish it off by demolishing the San Jose Sharks 8-3 on Saturday night. We'll recap the entire weekend. We'll tell you why Lian Bichsel was loaned back to Texas and some of our plans moving forward here on Locked On Stars into the Four Nations Faceoff break. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. So let's discuss the bonkers of a trip to California. It was for the Dallas Stars. It starts off with a 2-1 loss earlier in the week to the Ducks, where the Stars really never got their game going. Their best line in the contest was probably their fourth line with Sam Steele and Oscar Beck, who actually had another really solid game on Saturday against San Jose. Friday night against LA, we'll get into that one in a bit more depth since I haven't been able to discuss it yet. But another contest where Dallas is trailing immediately on the road when they surrender a goal just 11 seconds into the game. Dallas was able to strike back late in the first period. It was the Matt Duchene show over the weekend. Boy, did he have a lot of juice. And it only makes me more excited for what's to come, because now 33-year-old Matt Duchene will get 2 weeks off to rest a little bit, go on vacation, enjoy his time with the family. And at the break now, he's leading the Dallas Stars with 55 points and 22 goals. He's tied with the team lead with Rope Hens. What a weekend he had. He was all over the place. He's so shifty. He's making things happen with the puck on his stick. And him and Marchment together are just so perfect. And Mikael Granlund has turned into a nice winger for that line. He's still getting comfortable, but you can see the chemistry with Marchment and Duchene, which is not a huge surprise. Granlund had played with Duchene before in Nashville when they were together. So some of that is still there. And it's really sort of a Sagan-like piece with Granlund anyways, just a scoring winger that just needs to get to his spots. And he's a lot more elusive at this point in his career than Sagan is right now. Granlund still has some juice. He's a better skater than Sagan at this point in his career, but he's been a really, really nice piece to add to this lineup. And I've really liked what he's done alongside Matt Duchene, who was having himself a game over the weekend. That third period in LA was just crazy, just back and forth. The Stars had finally got the lead, and you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, they may steal one here in LA as Dallas started to push back. And then, of course, right after Dallas takes the lead, a couple minutes later, Kopitar scores. There was a couple of funky bounces in that game too. Jake Ottinger did not have his best game, but he came up with a couple of large stops late in that third period. The final minute, LA had some dangerous opportunities against Dallas, and Otter had to come up with some massive stops to at least get the game to overtime. We thought LA had won it, but it was goaltender interference. They come back out. Then we go to a shootout, and Dallas has been pretty lights out in the shootout this year, but it wasn't the case this time against Rittich. and LA was able to squeak out with a 5-4 victory. Just a weird kind of funky game all the way around, where Dallas was just continuing to have to come back and tie the game. And eventually they finally tied it, but unfortunately Stars unable to find the dagger in that one, as they lose in a shootout. They at least got a point out of it for not playing particularly great outside of Matt Duchene and company. They just had a lot of defensive breakdowns. Defense was optional really the entire weekend. And that sort of segues into Saturday against San Jose. Defense was not available for both the Sharks and Stars at this one at points. Cody Ceci and Johnston and Harley all got puck watching on the first San Jose goal a minute and a half in. They're just all looking at the puck, and then Eklund comes screaming down the slot, and nobody wanted to pick him up. Harley wasn't much of an issue. It's more of Ceci and Johnston with that first San Jose goal. And then Dumba tries to pinch in and gets absolutely walked around the wall. That leads to the second goal for San Jose. And I'm sitting there thinking, this break cannot come fast enough. We're losing to the Sharks now 2-0, 5 minutes in. I did not foresee what was going to happen the rest of that third period, where Dallas just went guns a-blazing, thankfully. And they responded with 3 unanswered. They actually responded with 7 unanswered to beat down the Sharks. But again, another highlight performance from Matt Duchene, a multi-point night from him. Johnston was making some elite plays in the contest as well. But Duchene with a 3-point night. 15 of the 18 skaters in the game picked up a point for Dallas. I do have to say, outside of that ferocious play by Dumba early, he was actually extremely good in the game. Had a really strong game for the Stars. Lian Bichsel had a great night against the Sharks too. Had to play very physical. He did a lot of work along the walls. He got up slowly at one point after taking a cross check from Barclay Goudreau, played physical brand of hockey, had 2 assists, a 6.39 game score on Hockey Stat Cards. That was the highest of the night and highest from any Dallas Star this season. Thought he was spectacular in the game, made a lot of great first passes. He ended up with 2 assists on the night. He played just under 20 minutes in the contest. And anybody that you could think of that needed to have a good night for Dallas did, right? Thomas Harley, Ussa Lindell, as the Stars started to get to their structure defensively a bit more as the game wore along. After the second period, the game was a skosh out of reach at that point, and Dallas just sort of poured it on towards the end. You had the Jamie Benn goal, and then Harley's goal in the third too was just a snipe to go up under the bar. Shouldn't have probably gone in, but again, the Stars had a bit of a point night fest in the game as they take down the Sharks 8-3. But man, it was an exciting couple of games on the road trip. Just really, really just sort of the inability for both sides to put a body on one another. In that LA game, just no one's marking anybody. They're just letting whoever has the puck on their stick do whatever they want. It was a bit old school. Guys were going one-on-one against one another. And Duchene, the amount of moves he had against Kopitar in that one game is astounding, just taking on each other. And it makes for fun hockey. I'm not going to complain a ton because there was a lot of room out there to move. It was fast. It was chaotic at points in front of both goalies. And it can lead to very entertaining hockey. It was certainly that, but I would imagine Pete DeBoer does not want it to be as wide open as it was for their opponents at times, but they take 3 out of the possible 6 points on the trip. It's an okay trip. You have to think there are some guys that are looking forward to the 2-week break and maybe weren't fully engaged in the final 2 games here before the 2 weeks off, but they handled their job rather well. And you at least take some of the bitterness out of it by destroying the Sharks on Saturday. Because if you lose that one, then it's just a bad taste in your mouth until you play on the 22nd. So 12 days off for the Dallas Stars, including today, before they are back in action. So there's a week recap for you in California, and it turned out to be pretty interesting. But nonetheless, Stars are in a good spot. A lot of question marks still out there. I'm so curious to see what the Stars do post 4 Nations. It looks like there are some teams that are going to want to make moves during the break. I heard some things from Elliot Freeman on his podcast, 32 Thoughts, that there possibly will be some teams that are going to make some noise during the break with trades and such. So, yeah, that is something to keep an eye out for. I don't believe Dallas is going to be one of those teams. I wouldn't suspect Jim Nill to make any moves currently. I think he has to wait for some of the dust to settle to see what is the likely return of Sagan and Miro before he really starts to pull the trigger on anything. So let's get into one of the latest Stars updates, and that was Lian Bichsel was loaned back to Texas. Do not be alarmed. This makes sense. We'll tell you that and why in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can, and you can stay in the action by betting. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. That's the beauty of FanDuel. Such a variety of ways to stay involved with the game. Whether you're backing your team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, never feel like you miss a chance. The app is easy to use, it's free, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So Lian Bichsel was loaned back to the Texas Stars, which does make a lot of sense. So do not be alarmed, Stars fans. The reason this move was made, it allows Bichsel to play over this 2-week break in the NHL with the Texas Stars so he can continue to play meaningful minutes. He can continue to develop and play is really the #1 reason for this move. I would certainly expect him to be back in the lineup on the 22nd against New Jersey. So do not be alarmed by this move. It makes a lot of sense. So he can continue to play and develop, which I think is a good thing for him at his young age. Get him some minutes, and who knows, maybe he'll take a few games off here and there over the 2 weeks just to be ready to go when the Stars are ready to rock and roll once again. So that is your latest update. Ilya Lyubushkin, he did not play in either Friday or Saturday against the Kings and Sharks respectively. We thought he may get into one, but I think as the days came closer, or the time went along, they just automatically figured that it's better for him to just sit. What's the point to push him back and him re-aggravate something? And then it turns into a larger problem. Why not let him get a few more days extra of rest here during the 2 weeks, and he can be done until the 22nd. So Lyubushkin did not make a reappearance on Friday or Saturday, which the more I thought about it, makes a lot of sense. No reason for him to push it against San Jose or LA with a couple of weeks here where he can hopefully at some point get back to 100% healthy, which I don't know if any player is 100% at this point in the season, but as close to it as possible. So that is sort of our latest update on Lyubushkin. We don't know a whole lot of what still happened in that game against Anaheim, whether he tweaked something, re-aggravated something on that hit maybe that he took in New York. I discussed that with Sam, but I believe he made the point that it was actually sort of concussion protocol there. So just not a whole lot of explanation. And as Sam noted as well, Pizza Boar and the Stars like to keep a lot of those injury designations close to the vest for good reason, but also frustrating at the same time. So we'll obviously have to learn more in about a week when the Stars are back in town, and maybe we get a better idea of when Lyubushkin is going to return. He did practice on, I want to say it was Thursday, ahead of the two games on the weekend for a bit, but he did leave practice early, so maybe he was testing something to see if he could go or not. Look, with the way the Stars defense is built, I just do not see them making a deep playoff run currently with Dumba, Ceci, and Lyubushkin as your right side. Getting Miro back into the mix will make you feel a lot better. He controls the pace of a lot of these hockey games, and I think you can sort of see that in just the handful of games since he's been out of the lineup. The way he can control the flow and can control the game for Dallas is special. And it's something you don't notice a whole lot when he's in the lineup because it's not something that can be measured, and it's not something that you can put in a box score. The game has gotten a bit chaotic for Dallas, especially in their own zone, which is to be expected to some degree. Look, CC's sort of brand new, and they're trying to play him with Harley a bit. So that's a new pairing. Smith checked in on Saturday, and maybe we'll see a bit more of him, but we've seen a lot of Dumba and Bichsel, which is not a shutdown pairing by any stretch of the imagination. And then they're sort of using Lindell as a stability piece to play him alongside Lyubushkin if he's healthy enough, or if Lyubushkin is good, they may keep Harley and Lyubushkin. It's just a real hodgepodge right now. It's just a hodgepodge. You don't know what you're going to get on any given night, and it's not good enough for them to get too cute with it either. They just have to play with the cards they're dealt, and they're trying to do this on the fly. And I acknowledge it's really tough. And also they just do not have, they don't have a lot of good players back there. It's just depth. There's not a lot of quality. There's quantity, but not a lot of quality. And if Miro has to be out for a series, or if Miro perhaps misses an entire postseason, which is still a question out there, I think it's fair to ask that, or fair to speculate. Like, it is an option. If he's not ready, maybe he misses a few games in the first round, but they're going to be in some trouble. The Stars are certainly going to be in trouble. It's nice that they have Bichsel. He looks like he can sort of take on a pretty large load and be okay. He still is going to have to acclimate to the NHL level at the postseason, which is a jump up. We all know that, but from what we see, I believe in Bichsel and what he can bring to the Stars, and he's already playing more minutes since Miro left, so that's part of the solution is Bichsel. But you're looking at Harley, Bichsel, and Lindell right now as three of your guys, and you can throw Lyubushkin into that mix too. When he's healthy, he's had a really, really good season. He's been solid, but we're gonna get a real taste of what Lyubushkin is too come playoff time. That's going to be another question on the test that he has to answer. He's been fine throughout the regular season. He's been a quality addition to the Dallas Stars this year, but what can you do for us in April? That's where we're sitting currently, because he may have to play a lot too, and I don't know if he can handle that. Are we really going to be asking him to play 25 minutes a night because you don't trust some others and you feel like you're going to have to shorten your bench, right? Like, I feel like that's a real question. And maybe 25 minutes is a bit extreme. Let's say 21, though. He's averaging under 17 minutes per night. That's the least amount of minutes he's played since 22-23 when he was in Buffalo. And he played just over 15. So, like, is he going to be able to play, 20 to 22 minutes, let's say, if you're having to shorten your back end because you don't want to play a lot of Dumba? Hopefully he's gone by then. Or you don't want to play a lot of Smith. But also Petrovic's an answer, which I'm pretty comfortable with too, from what we saw from him. So there's a lot of things that can change, and a lot more we could get into and probably really discuss that we're not going to get to an answer probably on today's episode. That's probably for a few months, but it is a really intriguing test the Stars have in front of him on defense, because it's not good enough. We know that. Let's be frank. It's not going to win you a series. It's going to be the reason why Dallas gets knocked out more than anything. And it's going to have to get solved at some point. And there are some plans in place, I'm sure, to do that. But they got to rock along with what they have right now. And they're doing a decent job of that, at finding a way to win games. So let's talk about the break a little bit. I want to sort of throw some ideas out there. Want to hear your feedback on this segment as well. Let me know in the comments what you would like during the break, anything specifically you want me to touch on, and all that good stuff, as we have a few weeks here to catch our breath. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone today. How can you find amazing candidates fast? That's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. You've been in a spot where you need to hire right away. You got the pressure on, and every person has to deal with some of those setbacks. Indeed is the perfect match for you. You don't want to spend thousands of hours, right? Or hundreds of hours looking for the right candidates. Indeed gives you the perfect candidates that qualify for your job needs. You can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. So I am looking forward to these 2 weeks and the Four Nations Faceoff Tournament as a whole. So I'd love to hear your feedback, Locked On Stars listeners. What do you want to see during the break? Anything specifically you want me to dive into a bit? What kind of content would you be interested in? I have a few things that I'm sort of mulling over. I do and would like to maybe possibly do some game recaps of some of these Four Nations games. I think they'll be a lot of fun, mainly sort of keeping an eye on Finland and the U.S. just because there's more ties with the Dallas Stars to both of those teams. So I am rather intrigued on maybe doing some breakdowns, of course, keeping up with the Stars players, but also just sort of doing some breakdowns on Finland and some of the U.S. games, just because I feel like there's some more ties with the Stars that way. And I think it would be fun to talk about some of the games and see what we get out of really best on best for the first time here in a while. I think it'll just be a ton of fun. So I might throw out some breakdowns after games in the next few weeks as well. So I'm curious if that would be to some of your intrigue in the next few weeks. Of course, I would love to get some more guests on here. We're actually thinking of doing a little catch up of the Contenders Locked On podcast, a little crossover we did at the beginning of the season, where I got together with Nashville, the Colorado channel, Winnipeg, and myself. Since we were the 4 teams in the Central that made the postseason last year, we may do a sort of a recap or a reunitement of some kind and talk about the season as a whole. That may be towards the beginning of next week. So I think that could be a lot of fun. But probably just do some more crossover episodes with some other channels to get an idea of where some other teams feel they are at. And those always lead to some great conversations as well. So I think there's a lot we can sort of get into, but I'm going to try to keep it fresh and fun here on the channel as well. Now that we don't have Dallas Stars talk necessarily every single day, we'll see what comes out of that. But out of the next few weeks, depending on a trade or whatnot, but a lot for us to kind of have fun. So I'm thinking tomorrow I do a bit of a Four Nations face-off preview, sort of get you set for everything that's going to take place in the next week and a half. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be rather quick too, just with the 4 teams. There's not going to be a lot of wasted space, not a lot of wasted time within this tournament as well, which I think is good. Some urgency. Urgency is always exciting. It kicks off on on Wednesday here. So a couple of days. Canada takes on Sweden. So a good introduction to best on best. So there you go. That's sort of my plans, though, at least for this little 2-week hiatus. I'm curious if you have anything you want me to get into, please let me know. Certainly let me know in the comments below, and we'll see what we can get to. Maybe do some listener questions, some mailbags, and some good stuff like that as well. Well, that'll do it for a Monday edition of Locked On Stars. We are back and ready to walk and roll for the next few weeks. No Stars hockey, but I think there'll be plenty of stuff for us to dive into. Have a great Monday, Stars fans. Enjoy the week. We'll see you tomorrow as we continue our Four Nations Faceoff Tournament break. We'll catch you tomorrow. So long, Stars fans.